What a great day to be a Panther, man. I'm excited about the direction of where we're going as a football team, and especially as an offense. We got a chance to implement our schemes through the spring and throughout the whole summer. We have installed our offense, I would say at least a half a dozen times so far going into this camp here. So we feel really confident about where we are and where we're going right now. We're going to be a much, much better football team as a collective group offensively than we were last year. And last year has nothing to do with where we're going this year. It's totally, totally different. And we're excited. Again, as far as working with the offensive staff, I've never worked with a group of guys that are as good at what they do collectively as where I am right now at Georgia State. And I'm very fortunate of that, having those type of guys surrounding myself as we go forward in this offense. With that, I'll take your questions.
With Albert Wilson now gone, and he was, most of the focus of last year's offense, right. Can you tell the fans what kind of offense they're going to see this year? Because
sure.
the weapons aren't established.
We did, and what we did last year, when you have a player that takes majority of the plays, as Albert Wilson did, you can take away that guy. If you have a go-to guy, you can take that go-to guy away. And we feel real confident with the guys that we have as a group now. As far as wide receivers, I think that Robert Davis is going to be a big plus for us. He had, over 700 yards last year as a true freshman, and he really had no idea on what it was all about last year. As far as what we're going to do offensively, we're going to try to be as balanced as we can. We want to run the football here. We want to run the football. We didn't have an opportunity to do that as much as we would have liked to as a football team, but we are better up front, as Coach had mentioned. We are better up front than we were last year, and we've got more experience than we had last year. The running backs are all back, and we're excited about what those guys can do. And there's going to be a lot of competition for that position. There's not one guy say, hey, he's our guy that we're going to go with right now, which is great. When you go into camp, you want as much competition as can be. That's what brings out the best in your players, is competition. I think that we have that at a lot of areas this year. Last year, we just had Keith Rucker. Now we've got Joel Ruiz, who is as good as any tight end that I've had on a collegiate level. He is a very, very good football player, and he can do more than just run or block or be a receiver. He can do both of them, and that's rare in these days.
Because tight end seems like it might be the deepest of the skill positions, can you elaborate on how they're going to be used with Rucker and Ruiz and
Well, one of the things that you can do when you have a personnel group that has multiple tight ends, you can use those guys in both the run scheme and the pass scheme. You can go with an empty backfield with the tight ends that we've got, and we can get in as heavy as we want to be on the goal line. So we feel very confident on what we have. But those guys are going to be very, very versatile. At times, there's going to be all three of those tight ends on the field at the same time, and that's not going to be just on the goal line or short yardage. And we feel confident that we could go no backs with just all three tight ends in, or we can be as heavy as we want to be. So we feel good about that as where we are as a tight end group right now. It's going to be fun to watch when we put this, because Joel was out a little bit in spring ball. We didn't get a chance to see. We got him nicked up a little bit. But it'll be fun to see how these guys develop as the camp goes.
Talking about the offensive line, obviously there was just a gauntlet of injuries that y'all had to go through last year, especially at the center position. Yeah. Talk about the talent you're able to bring in and how that you hope that will stabilize the line. Also, Coach mentioned the size, but also the theme of the spring seemed to be the toughness. The word they used was nasty. Yeah. They wanted to develop a nastiness along the offensive line. Talk about how do you develop that and what you expect out of that group.
Well, as far as being nasty, I think that is just an attitude. I don't think anybody comes born with, hey, I'm going to be a nasty guy. Guys, those offensive linemen don't go to the park as they're young and go, I'll get in my stance, let me show you how good I'm going to look. So that's, as far as being a nasty, I think that is just an attitude, and that is taken from Coach Etheridge, who I think does a great job in developing that. And I think you have to put those guys in a position to be nasty, and that is running the football. and that is one thing that we're going to do. We feel real good about a couple guys we brought in junior college. Mike Ivory, who's lost a bunch of weight and Ben Pollard has reshaped his whole body during the winter. He really never was in a structured weight program, and he was in this year, and he made tremendous strides as far as reshaping his body. And he's 336 pounds. He came in there, 365, 370. But he totally reshaped his body this winter, and he's done a great job, and he'd be playing left tackle for us. And he's got some length. What I'm talking about, he's got those long arms, and he's big. I mean, like I said, 330-some pounds. Taylor Evans is another guy that we brought in as a junior college guy that we think is going to be very, very good. He could play any position on the line for us. Taylor could. But he's going to start out as a guard for us right now. But we feel real good about that. Some of our younger guys have developed, been through a spring football with us now. Sebastian Willer was a guy that we brought in as far as Coach was mentioning about the type of guys that we bring in when you're recruiting. What we were looking for in some of the offensive line is some of those bigger tight end bodies. Well, Sebastian Willer came in here at 235, 240 pounds. Right now he's 280 pounds, and he's skinny. He still has a long way to go as far as developing his body, but those are the type of bodies that we're bringing in. And what those guys are now is they're athletic guys. Sebastian's an athletic guy, runs a 5-flat 40, 280 pounds, and he's got a long way to go. So it's just a matter of, work in progress with those guys. But we're going to be better.
And can you just go into Nick Arbuckle and the rest of the quarterbacks and what development you saw from them in the spring and what you hope to see from them in the fall?
Well, one of the things that Nick Arbuckle brings to you is he's got an intangible about as being a leadership. He came in right away and took the team, the offensive guys, and started watching film with them. I mean, this is just, the guy just walked in the room and he had instant credibility for what he did as a junior college quarterback. He had a lot of success, and we were real fortunate to have him. But he came in and started with the team as soon as he got here at first week. He would grab those guys and start showing film, and they'd start talking about the scheme and different things on where you're supposed to be. And he brought that to our football team immediately when he walked in. Ronnie Bell did a nice job for us last year and for what we had. We had really one wide receiver to go to, and our run game wasn't good. So a lot of times, he was put in a position where he had to make some plays where those plays weren't there, and that made it difficult for him. But he's got a year under his belt. He threw for 2,500 yards or something like that last year, which was good. And we're expecting a good competition from here. And Coach had mentioned Amir Scaife. When I saw him when he came in here in the summer, I thought he was a defensive lineman. I said, "Who's that guy?" I mean, he was big. He's a big guy. So we're excited about him. But he's a true freshman, and there's going to be a lot of developing as far as that goes, especially at the quarterback position. But we're excited about that. I think there's going to be competition at the quarterback position, and we're really excited about Nick, though, Arbuckle. He brings a lot of leadership. One of the things that our guys did this summer is they did a lot of 7-on-7. That means there's all their skill guys against the defensive skill guys without the defense or offensive lines. And the year before, those guys got beat up. They played different teams around the city, and we got a chance to do it this year also and did a nice job competing. And that's the whole thing. We're going to go out there, we're going to have fun, we're going to compete, and just make this offense a fun offense to be in. And when you have that, and when you see recruits are watching your offense and seeing that guys are having fun, guys making a lot of plays, that's a great recruiting tool. Best recruiting tool is winning.
With Gerald House struggling through injuries last year, there's a lot of carries given to true freshman running backs who maybe necessarily didn't have the entire offense down as far as blocking schemes and everything. How has that position progressed with Kyler Neal and Jonathan Jean Bart now being in the system for a year? And how do you expect them to be more total running backs?
I'm glad you mentioned Gerald House. Gerald House, we just keep talking about where we are physically. Gerald House is 6'1", 228 pounds right now as a running back. So he got nicked up, and we thought that he was starting to come along in the spring, and then he had got nicked up and stuff, and he couldn't end up finishing the spring. Kyler Neal is. We were just talking about the freshman with like Amir. We had that John Bart last year. I mean, they were true freshmen. Those guys had just finished playing high school football, and as far as developing on those guys, I think it's an ongoing process just with all the guys on our team right now because we are so young. There's a lot of room for improvement. So we're excited about that. And again, that position is not right now, it's not set. So there's going to be a lot of competition. Best thing about athletics is competition. That brings out the best in you. So that's things that we're excited about that. I think that's a constant theme throughout the whole thing. I mean, we've got young players with competition, and they're going to have to go ahead and show and earn that position right now. There's really not one guy that said, yeah, he's the guy.